The class was quiet that morning, a rare silence in the Academy of Unified Systems. The air smelled faintly of ozone, humming with the electric glow of hollow panels. It was history of the expansion wars, one of those subjects cadets yawned through, never realizing the ghosts they studied had once walked their streets. Instructor Vale, a stern man with gray in his beard and medals that clinked faintly when he turned, stood before the display. "Today," he said, tapping his console, "we begin with Elysium 9, the youngest colony ever to be attacked during the Orion uprisings." A flicker of light. A hollow image expanded across the room. It was a girl, barely 17, auburn hair tangled, wearing a tattered cadet's jacket 2 sizes too big. Her left cheek had a faint scar, her eyes sharp with impossible calm. The name beneath the image made one cadet choke on his drink. Aura Keller. The same name as the girl sitting in the back row. Quiet, head down. 2 weeks before that day, Aura Keller had not been a legend. She was the youngest logistics assistant at the Colony Defense Outpost on Elysium 9, a mining world barely worth defending. She filed requisitions, ran food deliveries, and was constantly told to stay out of the soldiers' way. The war had moved fast. Orion separatists were capturing human colonies one after another, using stolen fleet tech and guerrilla tactics. When the warning beacons blared one evening, most of the garrison assumed it was another drill. It wasn't. Elysium IX's orbital defense grid went dark within minutes. The first bombardment wave cracked the surface of the northern ridge. Half the command officers were dead before they could transmit a distress signal. Aura had been delivering rations to the communications wing when the roof exploded above her. She woke in the rubble, bleeding and deafened, clutching a crate of protein packs as if it mattered. When she crawled out, the outpost was gone, reduced to metal skeletons and smoke. She could have run. No one would have blamed her. But Aura's brother had been part of the infantry unit stationed in the southern canyon, and no one had heard from them since the first strike. She walked for hours through glassed fields and toxic mist. Her comlink buzzed with static. Then she found them, what was left of them, pinned down behind wrecked transports, surrounded by Orion drones. The commander was dead. The others, starving and low on ammo. And the girl they'd told to stay out of the way was the only one left with a working transmitter. The Orion drones swept the ridge, scanning for heat signatures. Aura ducked beneath a cargo hauler, pulse hammering, trying to fix the transmitter's power relay. "Leave it," shouted one of the soldiers. "We're done. Even if you call for help, they'll be here in minutes." She didn't answer. Her fingers were steady despite the shaking. She rerouted power from the hauler's fusion cell and forced the transmitter to reboot. A faint hum, a weak signal. But it wasn't enough to send a full SOS. The drones were jamming high-band frequencies. She looked at the soldier's wrist console, a map of drone patrols pulsing red. Then she saw it. The jamming tower, set up in the valley below. No one could reach it alive. No one except someone small, fast, and unnoticed. That night, Aura smeared soot across her face and stripped the insignia from her uniform. She carried nothing but a knife, a pistol with 2 shots, and the transmitter core strapped to her back. The valley was lit with blue Orion searchlights. The drones floated silently, scanning the ruins. She moved through them like smoke, crawling between shadows, heart pounding so loud she swore they could hear it. When she reached the jamming tower, she found 2 Orion scouts, tall, insectoid bipeds with pale armor and glowing visors. Their clicks echoed through the night. Aura waited. One moved away to check his scanner. She lunged. The knife slid beneath the armor joint of the other's throat. The alien thrashed, blue light spilling from its visor before it fell still. She fired her 2 shots into the tower's core. Sparks burst like stars. Then silence. And for the first time in hours, the comm link on her wrist came alive. Elysium Outpost survivors, come in. This is Fleet Command. Signal reacquired. Aura smiled faintly, bleeding from her arm. This is Aura Keller, she whispered. Coordinates transmitting. Please hurry. By the time reinforcements arrived, half the remaining soldiers were dead, but they had held their position long enough for evacuation ships to land. The final casualty report listed 312 confirmed dead, and one confirmed hero, Private Aura Keller, age 17. She never attended the medal ceremony. She was in a coma for 3 weeks, lungs filled with ash, body half-burned. When she woke, the war had moved on to another system, another battle. But her name had already spread across the fleet. Back in the classroom years later, Aura Keller sat quietly as her classmates whispered. "Wait, that's her," someone murmured. "No way. She looks like a normal person?" Instructor Vale said sharply, overhearing. "That's the point, cadet. Heroes don't look like myths. They become them." He tapped the hollow again. The next slide showed the wreckage of the jamming tower and a figure kneeling beside it, small, burned, but alive. Vale's voice softened. She didn't do it for glory. She did it because no one else would. The students stared in silence. Aura looked at her own face projected 20 feet tall. She had never gotten used to that scar. She still woke some nights, thinking she was crawling through fire. But in that moment, she realized something. The war wasn't over. Not really. It lived in the stories they told, and in every lesson taught to the next generation. After class, a cadet approached her, a young boy, nervous. "Keller, was that really you? On Elysium 9? She smiled faintly. "I was younger. Stupider." He hesitated. "I want to fight like that someday." Her eyes softened. "Then fight smarter. So you don't have to." Weeks later, the Academy held its annual memorial. Aura stood by the wall of names, her own listed among those missing, presumed dead. She didn't ask them to change it. Let them keep their symbol. She touched the cold stone and whispered, "For you, Jonah." Her brother's name, etched right below hers. The wind carried the faint sound of cadets marching, a rhythm that reminded her of the pulse of engines, the heartbeat of a ship going to war. And in that moment, she felt peace. Not the peace of forgetting, but the peace of knowing that somewhere, in another classroom, a new lesson began with her picture on slide 1.